Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm your host, Preston M. Smith. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Living Artist Podcast. I'm Preston M. Smith, at PMS Artwork everywhere on internet land and socials. I want to thank you for landing on this podcast. Whether you're a professional artist, just getting started in the art world, a collector of art, or just consider yourself a creative person, this podcast has something for you. I like to think of it as a fun way to rant and talk to other creative people about living the life of an artist, surviving and getting ahead in the art world, and enjoying your life. But most importantly, not waiting until you're dead to make it happen. All right, let's get started.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Living Artist Podcast, brought to you by The Pet Rock. Don't have a life? Then The Pet Rock might be perfect for you. And here's your host, Preston Smith.
Thank you. You're too kind, thank you. Really, thank you. Okay, time to shut up. Sit down. That's perfect. Welcome back to the podcast, the Living Artist Podcast, as you may know. Today's topic is inflation. Okay, today's topic is the war in Ukraine. No good? Today's topic is abortion? I know, we'll talk about guns. Monkeypox?
Let's hear it for Preston.
Oh man, am I happy I don't have to talk about any of that stuff. Not that we shouldn't talk about that stuff, but let's face it, you don't really come here to talk about those types of topics, do you? One guy's in the background going, "Wait a minute, I wanted to talk about monkeypox." Well, I'm sorry, sir. We are not going to talk about monkeypox today on the podcast. Instead, we are going to be talking about, is it an artist's duty? He said duty. Is it an artist's duty to talk about these types of topics? Politics and such. The ones that are really, really hot button issues. Is it something all of us artists should be talking about in our work? Do we have an obligation to society to talk about these things? Some artists would say, yes, of course, we got to talk about what's going on out there. What's current? What's going on in the world? We have to reflect that back on humanity, right? So absolutely, you have to talk about all these things. Well, I'm here to say that's not true. You can talk about those things. I think it's great. I think some of my favorite artists touch on political stuff, but it's not a necessity to do that as an artist. It's not an obligation. Don't feel obligated to do that. For example, if you want to take a break from the noise and you want to just create something beautiful, that's wonderful. The world needs beauty. If you want to create something funny, if you want to, evoke laughter, then that's very welcome. We need all that stuff in this world. We have a lot of people who want to talk about politics all the time on social media, on the 800 billion, I was going to say 800 billion thousand. Why not? The 800 billion thousand news media outlets out there these days. We get enough of that. Now, I'm not saying that you shouldn't. I think artists should have that bone in their body. I think when you get a topic that really speaks to you and resonates with you, then yeah, you should speak about that. Like, for example, for me, climate change was a major one. I started talking about climate change a lot in my work. And some of it was a little subtle. Some of it was over the top. Some of it was just through my art practice, what I was doing, the materials I was using, and recycling and upcycling. That was the way I chose to deal with that issue. But you don't have to deal with it. If you just want to focus your art on creating beauty or creating love or harmony or strangeness, weirdness, absurdity, I say go for it. It's all welcome. We need all that. Different strokes for different folks. There's a lot of people out there who are looking for lots of different types of inspiration, lots of different types of art. And I think the main thing, as always, that I'm always talking about on this podcast is do what speaks to you. Now, I will say that sometimes as you get a little bit older and as you've created a bunch of art, there will come a time probably where you cannot not be affected by what's going on in the world. Maybe some of these things hit you up close to home, or hit your business, or hit, the way that you create art, or your inability to create art because certain freedoms are taken away or whatnot. I don't know. I'm just spitballing here. But if that happens, then yeah, I think at some point it is almost a moral obligation to speak out about it, because if it's affecting you, it's affecting other people, and you should try to reflect some of that in your work to make some change, or as a call to action, or, you can just join some sort of group that talks about these issues, or maybe donates to certain charities or whatnot. Now, that's something that is a preference also. You don't have to. There's no law that states, as an artist, you must speak about politics or war. Having said that, some of the best paintings ever created are about these topics, like Guernica by Picasso. That's an extremely famous painting. Or Goya's The 3rd of May, 1808, or Diego Rivera's Man at the Crossroads, Barbara Kruger, We Don't Need Another Hero, or even Shepard Fairey, his Hope and Progress posters from the Obama campaign. Everybody remembers those. A lot of Banksy's work is political and like political satire. There's just a lot of it out there. So I would say, even though there's no requirement to talk about politics or political ideas or things that are happening in the news or in the world today, it is a deep, never-ending well of material. And it's typically infused with a lot of emotion, or backed by a lot of emotion on all sides, right? So it's one of those things where it's kind of hard not to have an opinion about it. It's hard not to get involved with some stuff. Just listen to the episode I had with Amy Smith, with all the stuff that she does with politics and feminism. Scott Mescal has some great pieces that involve politics and even women's issues. There's a lot of stuff out there. So what I'm saying is, if you are in the market for something to kind of light a fire under your ass and to do something that has meaning or value, inherent value and meaning, aside from it just being a piece of art, politics is a great place. It's a great source of inspiration. And it's not great. I mean, I'm not trying to say that these topics, the things that are happening that are horrible, the atrocities in the world are great. But what I'm saying is, it's something that an artist can really pluck from the headlines and really do something impactful with. So if you're looking for it, then it's readily available to you. And this doesn't have to be over the top, like even when I did the Obama gig and I did 12 paintings of the president, I chose blue as a background, obviously for the party that Obama represents, but I also did kind of a topographical map of the United States with blue outlines, almost like they were coming in to the center of the country. And that was just a subtle statement I was making, but you could look at the painting and enjoy it and not be like, hey, wait a minute, these damn Democrats or whatever. It doesn't have to be like that, but you can kind of infuse some subtle statements into your work too that are very powerful. And you can also do this with humor and satire and irony, which are fun ways to get your point across and can be very impactful in their own right as well. The other thing that I really like to do, and it's not always automatically apparent if you look at my work, my abstract work specifically, some of my old figurative stuff, it's kind of obvious what I'm saying, but some of my abstract pieces that are really colorful and textured and have beautiful colors, and a lot of them are very pretty to look at, but I always infuse those with really deep emotions and whatever's going on in my life, which can include how I'm feeling about what's going on in society, how I'm feeling about what's going on in the world and with gender roles and with war and, you name it, anything political that you want to throw in there. A lot of that stuff is wrapped up in there and in those emotions and how I'm feeling that day when I go in there. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to just paint something without filtering it as much as possible. So those emotions are kind of bleeding out onto the surface when I'm painting. So even though it might not be over the top political in nature or over the top, making a statement, all that's in there. All that is a big part of what I'm doing. And I think it's a big part of what we should be doing as artists when we're trying to get to that moment of creativity and we're trying to get present and we're trying to really let whatever is speaking to us almost flow through us like we're a conduit. So all of those emotions and all those things that we are feeling in the moment, if you're pissed off about inflation, or you're pissed off about gender inequality, or you're pissed off about whatever, the war in Ukraine, some of that stuff can come out, and it doesn't have to be always an over-the-top statement, although that's great as well. But if you're an abstract artist, you can kind of put all of that into your work and like mix it in as you're mixing the paint on the canvas. It's also mixed in. You can feel it. It's almost like this intangible piece of the painting that if it wasn't there, you would notice. So I guess, what am I saying, really? Am I telling you to be political? Am I telling you not to be political? Am I saying that artists should be political? Should they not be political? I'm kind of saying all of the above. I'm saying that if you are doing your work properly, how can it not be? Even if it's not a conscious decision that you're making, all of these things are filtered through our own artistic experience. So whether you know it or not, if you're doing your job, you kind of are a little bit political. So just something to think about today, and if you're like struggling for some ideas or from inspiration, just watch the news, just turn on the TV. I'm sure you'll get plenty of inspiration, plenty of things that'll get your juices flowing, get you wound up, get you angry, get you ready to talk, get you ready to paint, sculpt, take pictures, whatever it is you do, whatever your medium is. It is an endless well of resources for our creativity. And hey, what's better than creating some beautiful work that has a message too, that can be impactful on people and society? The best of both worlds. So that's it for today. Just talking about politics and not talking about politics at the same time. Talking out of both sides of my mouth, as they do in politics. So be good to each other out there. Let's all do our best to try to understand each other and spread a good message and lots of love with our art. Talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Wait a minute. I got it. Let's talk about...
I was going to say love. This has been the Living Artist Podcast. Thank you so much for listening. I just want you to know that I appreciate you being here, and I'm grateful to be in your ears. Your art and creative life on this planet is meaningful, so thank you for sharing it with me. If you like this podcast, whatever platform you're listening to it on, please subscribe and share it with your friends. You can also leave me a positive review to show your support. This helps me to reach more people with the algorithmic magic and keep the show going strong. If you want to see more of what I do and check out the art that I create, you can visit my website at www.pmsartwork.com or follow me on social media everywhere at PMS Artwork. That's it for now. See you back here next time.